Hey everyone, my name is Adam. I'm the host of Cool Places with Cool People, the podcast where we interview entrepreneurs in their business. So today my guest is a guy, friend, best friend, homie, Daniel Carroll. How you doing today, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Adam? Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. I met Daniel all the way back in high school when I used to work at the batting cages, and Daniel was just an up-and-coming professional baseball player with Seattle.
Yep.
And we both kind of went through the minor leagues together. So we had one journey of our lives with baseball, and now we've both entered the second journey of our lives in real estate. So it's been very exciting to see both of our careers kind of grow in different directions. So the reason why I have Daniel on the podcast today, we get hit up all the time about I want to buy my first flip or I want to get into investing. Well, Daniel over here took the faith jump this year and bought his first flip out in Alabama. So why don't you tell us everyone about it?
Hey, everybody. Again, Adam, thanks for having me on here. So also, Adam, you forgot to mention, hopefully your old boss isn't listening, that you used to let me hit in the batting cages for free all the time.
I did. Maybe that's why that place went out of business.
Maybe that is why. I am, as Adam said, former professional baseball player, and I am in the sales world now. I do commercial insurance for a great company, love my job. But also as a side hustle, I do real estate. And real estate is my end goal for investing and, for retirement down the road. My long-term goal is to have, 50 to 100 apartment units and just be watching mailbox money come in. But to start there, I needed to build up capital, and that's why I decided to flip some houses, and I started in Alabama.
So why did you pick Alabama?
Alabama, barrier of entry was a lot lower. Out here in California, if you wanted to, the market just wasn't right out here. If you have all the capital, you could jump into something, but in Alabama, you could, use a hard money lender, and you could get into something for, less than $50,000, and then it would, resell for, maybe 100 to 120, and you'd make a decent profit margin. Over here, to make the same profit margin, you'd probably have to be buying a house for like $250,000 to $300,000, and then be putting another 50, 60 into it. So the money versus the profit reward was just a greater risk out here in California.
So what was the first step you took to pick Alabama, and pick what city in Alabama did you do it, and why did you pick that one?
Yeah, so it was Birmingham, and I just did a ton of research on demographics. I reached out to a lot of people on a website called Bigger Pockets, and I looked into a lot of people that were doing business out there, what the market was like. I talked to local realtors, and it just took a lot of legwork to look into the demographics out there, what type of economic industries were growing out there, and then just a lot of phone calls to a couple local realtors to get a feel for the market.
So why don't you break down the first deal you've ever did, price, how much did you put down, how much was the rehab, and then what did you sell it for, and also where did you get the funds to do that? Because I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, is like a lot of people want to get into flipping, but then it's like, I don't have the down payment. I have the down payment, but I don't have the rehab money. So what was something you do? Or I have the money, I have the down payment, but I can't qualify for that loan. So what are some of the items that you did to financially do it, and why don't you break down your first deal?
Okay, so basically the things you need to get a flip done, it's simple to break it down, but it's also hard to get it into motion. So, you obviously need capital, one, you need a deal, two, and then you just basically need someone to vet that deal for you, especially if you're out of state like I was doing it. So in order to get the capital, at this point, I had done fairly decent at my job, and then our personal residence, we sold it thanks to you and made a decent little amount of capital there. So I had a nice little nest egg saved up, but I actually used a hard money lender on this purchase. Do you want me to go into what?
What would be the difference between a standard going to a company like we use at Loan Depot to working with a deal with a hard money lender?
Okay, so yeah, a hard money lender is basically, and generally it can be an entity or just an individual where they're in the business of lending money. So they will basically, those terms are a lot easier, they move a lot faster than a traditional lending company, but then again, the rates are also a lot higher and they cost more. So it's kind of a trade-off. You're either going with a traditional lending company that is going to require bank statements, run your Social Security. They're going to want all of your proof of income. They're going to run an appraisal. They're going to, it's going to take 30, 40 days to close. And then if you go with a normal hard money lender, those guys generally don't need to know too much about you. They just basically vet the property. And if they're a local guy and they know the area, they're going to look at the property and say, okay, I'll lend you X amount of dollars on this property for the purchase and the rehab. And they're betting on the fact that their investment is secured by this property. So if you went into default or any, things went bad, they're getting the property at a discounted rate at a price where they would have bought it at anyways.
So were you able?
That's
So how
how it
much
works.
was your first deal, and how much were you out of pocket to get that deal
Okay.
done?
So that one, I think we bought it for, I think it was 56. The hard money lender lent $30,000. He lent I think he lent me $35,000 on the purchase, and then I put $20,000 down, and then I paid for the rehab myself.
Okay.
So $20,000 down to get into it. The hard money lender lent me $35,000 to complete the purchase price. And then I spent an additional $13,000 in rehab.
So you're into it 33.
Yep.
33,000 cash,
Mm-hmm.
and then you bought it for 50.
Mm-hmm.
And what'd you sell it for?
That one we sold for 117. No, I bought it for 50. What was it? 56. 56, 58, somewhere in there.
So what'd you walk away with at the end?
So
of
we
the
were
project?
all in at the end of the day. We were like at 83,000.
Okay.
So end of the day, we sold it for 117 after all my expenses, holding costs, realtor commissions. We walked away with I think it was between $25,000 and $28,000.
So 25,000, and
Yeah.
what was the time frame that you made that profit?
That one
on?
was pretty quick. So that property, I went into it planning to hold it as a long-term investment. And I was going to do that, but I just realized, hey, I'm so right side up on this property. I might as well take the capital and try and, and multiply it. So yeah, that one, what was the question before that again?
How much did you walk, or how long did it take you to do the
Oh,
whole
okay.
deal?
Yeah. So we bought it in May, sold it in August.
So May to August.
Yeah.
So
It was a pretty decent turnaround time.
turnaround
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, it was a home run on my first deal. No
First
problems. My contractor was great. My property manager was great. The realtor did a good job. And we sold it to an investment fund. An investment, literally, it was I think a hedge fund out there was just buying up houses. And they bought it cash. So that transaction went fairly smooth too.
So you made 25 grand in a few months, a little side hustle, and then what did you do with that 25 grand plus the down payment you had from the original? What was your next project?
Okay, so after that, I was like, wow, this is the easiest 25 grand I ever made. I want to do this a lot more. Everything.
I think that's everyone who ever gets into real estate.
Yeah.
I always feel like your first deal is super simple.
Yeah.
So then it gets you all amped, oh, I could do this every day. And then the next one is just from hell. And then you're just I want to quit.
Yeah, so it's been a great prediction story of events. So yeah, the first one went so good that I was just so cocky and thought I could do it. Hey, if I just do this 4 times a year, I'm gonna make almost 100 grand. And I'd be totally fine with that. I got a little cocky and tried to go a little bit faster. I ended up trying to get some more deals under my belt in Alabama, but literally getting that deal was, I found out was just very not lucky. I mean, you make your own luck. I reached out to a lot of people and it made it happen, but I just wasn't getting any other deals. Nobody was sending me. All the stuff I was looking at just didn't have the right margins, and for whatever reason, people were buying stuff for way higher than I thought you could to make something work. And so I was like, this competition was just too high here in Alabama. So I went and looked at another market, which was nearby, which is Chattanooga, Tennessee. And then I proceeded to move forward buying 3 flips there.
All at one time.
Very close proximity. I didn't have the capital to take on the additional deals, but just from people knowing that I just had recent success, I had a lot of friends with capital, and I took on one partner for one. I did one more by myself, and then I took on a partner for the other 2, where they were both the financial partners in the deal. And then I just kind of sourced everything. And then they were going to basically be the money on the front end to purchase it. We used hard money. And then at the end of the day, I would manage the whole flip, and then we'd split the profit 50-50.
So then out of those 3 right now, how many have you sold? And then what do you have still going?
None of them have sold. We bought the last one we bought in September, which is the biggest headache. And then the other one's about to finish within this next week. And that one has been a 4-month timeline, so it's not that bad. The other one was a headache. We worked through it, and now it's moving pretty fast. We bought both of these in January, and this one's going to finish at the end of this month.
So we heard a great story of you making 25 grand and going super smooth.
Yeah.
Then the next one you buy is a nightmare project that you're still working on.
Yes.
And I think that's the one thing I feel like I've been using this analogy a lot lately, is that every real estate transaction, from flipping, buying and holding, or any just resale, it's like a plane flight. You know, sometimes you fly and it's super smooth, and then other times it's super crazy. You're hitting turbulence and the deal's all over the place, but you still get to the other end. So what in that September deal, your second one, that has caused, why has that one been the most nightmare, and what have you learned from that?
All right. So there's some things in there that so a part of my blessings and curse is that, like, I jump into things and have enough faith and self-confidence that I'll figure it out and make it work.
So I think that's why we're not good friends.
Yes.
Because I am the same way, so I just tell you, like, do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, my crew back here, they've learned. We literally went, on Monday, we were like, let's start a podcast, and this all came in less than a week, and now we're just doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm the worst friend for you to have.
Yeah, so you don't check me. I need
No, I just go, I say double down. I go, oh, dude, just do another one.
Yeah, exactly. Actually is what's funny is my wife told me I needed to slow down, and I said, no, I need to speed up. Like, I need to do more. So yeah, which is actually a good point. One of my current partner that I'm doing one of the flips with, and we're going to be trying to build a portfolio out there in Tennessee. He's great because he's analytical, and he just checks me great. And we work really well together. So that's a tip for anybody that's looking into it. Just, grab a partner, find somebody that you work really, really good with. So anything that I miss numbers wise, he'll find it, and just he always walks me through my thoughts and helps me work through things. But circling back to that other property, what went wrong with it? One, the contractor went wrong. Two, I didn't check. Basically, I didn't check the zoning on the purchase before I purchased it. And there was some local ordinances that basically made the property be zoned commercial, even though it's in the middle of a residential neighborhood, which was just the funkiest thing I've ever seen. Everything about the property said it was residential use, but use is different than like what its actual zoning is. And to check the zoning, you got to like pull up the county map. So the hard money lender didn't even check it. He missed it because it was in the middle of a neighborhood. And then generally, if you were going to use a traditional lender, this is something that would have come up. That would have come up. So I ran that scenario by so many people that are more experienced than I have, and nobody's ever ran into this situation. So it's either something that just freak thing. And it's been a huge learning experience. I would call it an expensive education. But basically now one of my criteria for every single thing is we always check zoning no matter what, which sounds like a no-brainer, but like when it's in the middle of a neighborhood, you almost think like
that's like me and septic, right? I've screwed it twice now where I'm like, oh, there's no way this is on septic, like this is in a neighborhood, like we're good. And then I write the offer, I'm like, oh, there's septic, and then I have to like scramble, and it's cost me $750 before.
Oh really?
And it's but it's like in a neighborhood, in like a good neighborhood, you're like, oh, this totally has public sewer. Nope, septic. So now, septic check every time. Yeah. Don't care if it's in the middle of Orange Crest. I'm checking if there's septic or not.
So now that like we're getting a little bit more legitimate, we got like a good buying criteria. Everything all the boxes have to get checked before once it goes down a certain, depending on how far it goes down the road.
So are you going to make any money on that deal, or are you going to lose?
No, that deal's going to be a loss. That deal's going to be a loss no matter what. The only way I'd make money on that is if I hold on to it long term, make a couple years in rent and then sell it at the end of the day. But I think I just want to sell it and take the loss on my taxes this year, because I will make money on the other deals, so it'll just kind of balance out, my taxable income for the year.
So we had a great one. We had a horror story. We have two more that are going to be closing basically on the decent time frame. Going forward, where are you looking to take in your real estate portfolio in the next 6 to 8 months or the next few years? What are you wanting to do to build up your profile?
Oh man. So right now, me and my buddy, we're going to be focusing on building a single family portfolio. So like I said, we had some bumps and bruises in through these like 3 flips. And one of them, the second one that my buddy's partnering on, we're most likely going to be keeping it as a rental. So the area that this flip is in is just exploding. And the budget went way over on that one due to the city requesting additional things to be done. And so basically the profit margin on that one, we'll still make a profit, but it's just not that big of a deal based off of, like us splitting the profit at the end of the day. It's just not that big of a gain where we're getting excited about it. We were thinking our goal is to, have a portfolio of 10 single family homes to start with. And so now we're thinking we'll just keep this house as kind of the cornerstone.
The first one.
Yeah. And in doing that, like our goal is to basically to burr properties. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that. It's from Bigger Pockets podcast. It's basically you buy a house, you rehab it, you rent it out, and then you refinance your money back out of it. Mm-hmm. So under that process, you basically do the math so that if, let's say you buy a house for 50 G's, you put $20,000 into it, it's going to be worth $100,000 at the end of the day. You go to the bank after you have a renter in it, and the bank, depending on their lending criteria, will lend up to 70 to 80% of the ARV, meaning the after repair value. So if they'll lend up to 70 or 80, then that means they'll give us a $70 to $80,000 note on that property with a stabilized tenant in it. So if we're in it for 70 and they lend us 70 G's, then we just got all of our money back out of it, and it's an infinite return, and you just kind of recycle that money over and over.
I think that's the one thing that people don't realize is that it's two things that if anyone's gotten out of this, and it's kind of like for me when people try to hit me up like I want to start flipping houses. One, it takes a lot of legwork to run deals down.
Yep.
Two, if it's already hitting the market, it's probably too late and probably not a good enough deal. Yep. When you see people like, hey, let me check this house out. Actually Daniel hit me up on a house right by Victoria Club, and I'm like, dude, it's been on the market for 300 days. If it's a good deal, someone have bought it already. So that's a big sign for me. And you have to have the right people around you to check you for one, or be the good realtor, be the good contractor, because that's the hard part. I think probably the biggest thing you think is a problem from doing deals out of state is just not having the right people on the front line for you.
You got to have a really, really good team, whether it's here and especially far away if you're not going to be there. The biggest problem that we learned was just the contractor. It seems, again, like a no-brainer, but you need to have such a good contractor that you trust wholeheartedly, because the whole zoning issue with me on the first one was a problem. But if the contractor that I ended up going with had done his job and hadn't cheated me and lied to me, then we would have caught this on the front end and got the rezoning done within the first couple months, instead of starting the process when we were, what was it, 2.5 months in. And it just would have been a lot faster. And if I would have caught it on the front end, I never would have had him start the supposed rehab that he did. and he never would have got payment for any of the jobs that he told me he did. So
what happened, if I remember the story correctly, he was like getting paid but not paying anyone, and then he just left town and ran back to Michigan. Yeah,
so he did do some things. He did the siding on the house, he did the roof, he started some things inside, and this guy was just a masterful liar, and he took the pictures he took me on the checks and balances, so I would check his work. We're just later on when I go back and look at them, they were extremely strategic in their placement, so it looks like it was completed when it really wasn't. Or if it was one room where he's showing me drywall that's done, it's supposed to be all the rooms were done with drywall, like it was really only one room he's showing me, but he took like different pictures of the wall each time, so to me it looks like different rooms coming in.
So I think the big thing is only FaceTiming now. Like no more photos.
Yes, only FaceTiming.
FaceTime now, no photos.
And we have a guy that we trust in the area, which is kind of like, we call him our task rabbit, and we just we pay him basically to go check on the property, and it's in the contract. Contractor doesn't get paid until either the realtor goes and checks the work, or our task rabbit goes and checks the work and says it's been done.
Yeah, see, I think for me, like what we're trying to do, I think me and Daniel are trying to work a deal right now, is like I want Daniel to kind of, run down the deals, because I think we really want to get to the point where, like he was saying earlier in the podcast, there's someone handling all the financing, and there's someone running down the deals. And right now, like for us, like we've talked about, like I want to get like 12 unit property by the end of the year. I want 12 unit apartment property somewhere, and that's really my end game soon too. We have the same kind of end game of buying hotels and buying apartments and houses and get that passive income. Like they say, every millionaire has become a millionaire off of real estate. So I definitely think that's the best way to go. So Daniel, thank you so much for coming on the first podcast. What would be, someone who listens to Big Pocket,
Bigger pockets.
Bigger pockets, sorry. People who, seeing the shows on TV, the flip and flops, they're seeing all these things.
Mm-hmm.
What the advice you have to give someone to do the first flip? Because we talked months and months and months about you doing your first flip. What was it to got you go over the edge to finally pulling the trigger? And what are the 3 things you would give someone advice before they pull the trigger and then to get to do it?
So honestly, you're right. I was talking about it for a really long time, and I had wanted to invest in real estate for, I don't know, maybe 100 episodes of. That's actually how I timed it. From the time I started wanting to get into real estate, it was literally like at episode 100 of a podcast that I liked, and then by the time I jumped in there at like episode 250, so I
finally did it.
Yeah, I was like, what am I waiting for? It took me 150 podcasts.
Well, the funny thing, you would call me and be like, "Dude, I listened to this podcast today," and I'm like, "All right, let's do it." I guess.
Yeah. So honestly, I think the thing that really made me pull the trigger was when I found out I was gonna have my third boy. My third kid. I was just like, all right, I need to jump in. I need to figure out. I need to get this done. If I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I got another kid coming. I want to start that passive income or start the foundation to get that passive income coming in. And that was really it. And if I was to give 3 things, I would say, honestly, I didn't do this, but I think I would hire a mentor if I had to do it again. I would get with a company that has a good person that already does it. There's a lot of people that offer programs out there. I would just seek a lot of knowledge from somebody and seek a lot of knowledge from all those free resources out there. So do a ton of research. 1, 2, I would say you need capital and you need deals. So you need to start analyzing deals. So 1, if you don't have the capital, find a partner you could partner up with. That would be the second thing. Somebody that you could fund the deals for you. And then 2, you need deals to look at. So whether or not that's looking at stuff on the MLS or you're having realtors send you deals. My philosophy is that you would pick a market that you really want to get into, and then you get in touch with all the wholesalers that are in that area.
And that's where you're going to get the deals.
Yeah, that's where you're going to get the deal.
You're honestly not going to get it from a realtor or on the MLS.
Yeah, so if you're a guy that doesn't have time to do all the sourcing yourself and all the legwork to find your own deals, whether you're dialing for dollars or you're, doing direct mail or you're door knocking, you need wholesalers, and that's what wholesalers are. Their business is completely, that's all they do is find deals for real estate investors
that need to be flipped.
Yeah, and then they flip the contract to investors, and that's who I bought all my deals from is wholesalers. So I would, if I were to say 3 things to start, it would be ton of research, get a mentor if you can. 2 would be, figure out financing, get those ducks in a row, whether or not you want to use traditional, get pre-approved, know how much it's going to cost, or get a partner. And then 3, it would be start getting deal sources lined up so you can look at deals, and then just start looking at deals over and over and over and analyzing them. The more familiar you get with looking at some deals, the more comfortable you're going to be when you got to pull a trigger, and then you just got to, at some point, you just got to jump.
I think that's the biggest thing that I think a lot of people just can't make that jump factor because it is freaking scary.
It is. Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that if I had to look back at Daniel's real estate adventure in the beginning was you do have to have that friend next to you that says you just got to go do it.
Yeah.
Because if not, then you'll watch 150 podcasts and never do it. And so if you're someone on the edge right now thinking about doing a flip, do it. And you know what? And at the end of the day, you'll figure it out. And I think that's the one thing everyone needs to realize is that you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It will work itself out. But I think the one thing that I took from today's podcast is don't get overzealous. Stay patient. Look at the deals. If it's too thin margins, don't take it.
Yeah.
I learned from, mentors that I listen to, like Grant Cardone and stuff. They look at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of deals before they buy one.
Yeah,
and exactly. I think that's what people need to realize, the legwork behind it before you actually buy one. So
stay patient and you're analyzing, but then just do it.
You have to pull the trigger. When you find that, I think the biggest thing is you have to know your numbers, and if a deal fits in those numbers, you have to pull the trigger.
And that's the thing that guys will never know. It's I don't know my numbers. I've never done this before, and that's what you need a mentor for.
For sure.
And that's those types of things you need to figure out. What are your criteria? So
for sure. Well, thank you so much, Daniel. I appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast. Episode number 1. My boy Daniel Carroll. Thanks everyone, and we'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Thanks so much.
Bye.